Wow! I hate this!
Yeah, we're going there.
So before we begin, I want to remind you that this is not my theory. It comes from a user called Heather1815 on Tumblr, specifically her 10-year-old nephew. I understand that shipping is a divisive topic amongst the Eddsworld community, and whilst it's not something that I care for myself, it is something that a lot of people are very passionate about, specifically this particular couple.
This video is not about that, so put that thought away. This is just another way of exploring the dynamic between these two characters. Also, all of the disclaimers from that last video I made still apply here, doubly so for that final point.
Classic stupid Tom. Why are you here?
Goodbye, old friends.
I am not your friend!
With that said, this theory does kind of help to explain a few things.
As stated before, this theory comes from Tumblr. The author was watching the end with her little nephew when he suddenly had an explanation for why Tord and Tom seemed to hate each other so much. What if Tom and Tord have a deeper history than we were led on to believe? The theory states that the two were dating in secret years before Tord moved out. But after some huge fight or call to action, Tom and Tord were forced to separate, and Tord was forced to leave everyone else behind. It may have been about Tord's dream of world domination, or it might have been something a lot smaller, but the two had some large falling out at one point. This would explain why Tom was so angry when Tord left, and why Tord didn't even try to speak to Tom throughout that entire scene. This might also explain the blueprint on the wall in Tord's lab. God, I hate that poster. It makes so many theories so much more complicated, and it's completely unaddressed in the episode, so everyone tells me about it like they're the only person in the world to know about it, and for some reason, there are people who think that the beginning and the friend is official, and not just one fan explanation, and just, God, I hate it. Anyways, where was I? Yeah, the blueprint on the wall in Tord's lab. The writer of this theory suggests that this monster was Tord's design, and he gave some form of serum to Tom without his consent when they were dating. Yes, just like in that fan comic. And when he found out about Tord's little experiment, Tom decided to break up with Tord and kick him out of the house. Tom then moved into Tord's room, as stated in the original episode. You might think this was because Tom's room was being turned into a swimming pool, but what if Tom did it to protect Tord's secret? What if Tom knew about the secret base hiding under the house, but kept it a secret to prevent suspicions about him and Tord? It also makes for a good stash of weapons, like that one sniper rifle he used in Santa Claus Part 3, or that tank he keeps underneath the floor, the one he used to defeat the snow monster. Where else would he have gotten it from? This all culminates in the end, when Tord has no choice but to retrieve his battle robot. From the very beginning, Tom and Tord are at each other's throats. Tom wants Tord to go away, and Tord wants to kick Tom out of the house, which he eventually does. These are just two bitter, jealous exes. Of course, Tom also may know what Tord wants to do, so would want him out because of that, but after not answering his phone calls for all that time, he'd probably be a little bitter anyway.
Why did you leave? Why?
And then when he finally does get his robot, how many times does Tord shoot at Matt or Ed? Not once. He never fires a single bullet at them. How many times does he try and shoot at Tom? Many, to the point of blowing up his house and probably his very expensive base just so he can kill Tom. He is angry, he is bitter, and he wants Tom dead. And that makes it all the more satisfying when Tom finally defeats his long-time rival. And that's the theory. Tom and Tord used to date. Again, do I think it's true? No, not one person on the Eddsworld team wanted this. None of the characters ever dated each other.
But it is an interesting way of looking at it. When the end came out, I think a lot of people were very confused about why this finale to Eddsworld starred primarily Tord and Tom of all characters. It just didn't really make that much sense at the time. But when you think about it as in these two characters coming to the end of their story, not even a romantic story, just maybe they were really good childhood friends perhaps. If you assume that these characters had a much deeper history than we first believed, then it adds a whole new layer to the episode.
It is one way to explain some of the characters' behaviour. And when you think about this, and you think about all the history going on between Tord and Tom that was a secret to us and the characters in the show, suddenly the focus on these two in the final episode makes a whole lot more sense.
Now that wasn't so hard, was it? So if you'll excuse me, I think I've started a few firestorms I need to put out.